Hello everyone, my name is Infinity and this is Magnetize Yourself, where we talk about life, love, spirituality, and of course the law of attraction. I'm holding in my hand right now a gypsum stone or crystal. I picked up this stone today from a shop. I felt really drawn to it without actually knowing its meaning, and I went to go research it, and I discovered that this crystal is associated with life moving too quickly and using this stone or this crystal to ground, stabilize, and balance your energy during a time of rapid change. I'm sharing all of this for this video because I feel many of you will connect to this message, or if not many of you, at least one of you needs to hear this. So if you are someone that feels like the landscape of your life is rapidly changing, maybe you just lost your job, maybe you just went through a breakup or some kind of heartbreak, maybe you simply feel as though you are changing, your personality, your lifestyle, your passions. You feel as though everything is moving too quickly. I hope that this video will help to give you a better understanding as to why this could be happening to you. Because today we're going to talk about 5 signs you're going through a spiritual awakening. Now, this spiritual awakening could have been triggered by so many different things. Usually, in order for a spiritual awakening to happen, we have to receive some kind of sudden, massive influx of energy from some kind of person or experience or situation. And this sudden increase in our energy raises our vibration rapidly. But as this happens, not only do we experience the effects of having a higher vibration, which I'll get into later in this video, but another thing that happens is this higher rate of energy. It's like a current of energy that moves through us, much like a river. However, because of how we are programmed by society in unnatural ways, away from our authentic soulful self, this river of energy, which is now of course increased, which is very high pressure, comes up against these walls or blocks within our energy field that we could imagine as dams on a river. And as this happens, of course, we not only experience these amazing, seemingly magical, very high vibe experiences in our lives, but we also experience the results of this very high, fast moving energy coming up against these so-called energetic walls. So many of these symptoms can actually be very uncomfortable in real time, which is often why we could so often mistake them as something negative happening to us or our life falling apart, when really we are just going through this very powerful awakening experience that is causing not only these amazing, profound experiences, but also these uncomfortable symptoms. So the first sign you're going through a spiritual awakening is one of those uncomfortable signs, and yet something everyone who wakes up spiritually goes through this in one way or another. And this is a feeling of disconnection or detachment from reality, from this matrix of existence, from society. So this can manifest itself in different ways. Sometimes this causes you to suddenly feel very different from the people you interact with on a day-to-day basis. So your acquaintances, your friends, your family, even a lover or partner. You can suddenly feel very different from them, as if you just don't belong, as if maybe you came from some other kind of planet, or you're not even a human being in the same way that they are. And this feeling is happening to you because although you're existing in the same physical world, because of the ways in which your vibration is raising so rapidly, you are actually existing simultaneously on another plane of existence. Some people refer to these higher planes as different dimensions. So you could think that you could conceptualize this as everyone in this 3D world, in this matrix, in this physical world we take in through our senses, is existing in the 3D. But now, because of the ways in which you are raising your energy, you are having flashes of existence where you are existing in the 5D, in the 5th dimension, in the higher realms. So if you feel like you're not fully connecting with the people or experiences or this physical reality around you, it may be because in a quite literal way, you are energetically existing on a different level from many of the people you are sharing the same physical space with. The second sign of a spiritual awakening is that your relationships begin to radically change, or if not completely change or drift away, they take on a completely different form. They feel entirely different to you. So, for example, let's say that you've had friends that you've been friends with your entire life. When you go through a spiritual awakening, again, because of sign number 1, this way in which you raise your energy to a higher level, you're existing in a higher dimension, on a higher plane. And as a result, disconnecting from reality and from many others who are not existing in this higher level, who are stuck in the matrix, in the 3D. Many of these people begin to look at you and say that you've changed. And in many ways, they'll be right, because you have changed, you are changing, you are transforming and expanding. Many of these people, a sad truth of being someone who is waking up, who is going through a spiritual awakening, is because you are expanding, you will naturally cause others around you to feel the pressure to expand, because they will see you growing and expanding. And it will remind them, as you come into the truth of your own soul, others around you will be naturally reminded to the truth of themselves. Now, in some ways, this will magnetically draw to you authentic people who want to grow and expand. But at the same time, this will repel away from you just as strongly anyone who does not want to see the truth of themselves or their life, who wants to remain asleep, so to speak, in this metaphor of awakening or sleeping. So if you find that suddenly you feel as though you are repelling away from you people who you long connected with or felt a kind of deep connection with, you're just no longer connecting with these people, or they almost seem to be avoiding you or leaving your life. This is because as you come into greater alignment with yourself, your energy becomes more powerful, and this power works in both directions. So you will be very magnetic for authentic people and experiences that align with the truth of your soul, with your core soul frequency. But at the same time, just like a magnet, a powerful magnet turned the opposite direction, you will just as powerfully repel away from you anyone who does not align with your soul mission, your soul purpose, your most authentic self. And some of these people, as difficult as it can be to accept, may be people that when you were still living through your ego, living through your false self prior to your spiritual awakening, you may have been able to connect through that false, inauthentic self, through that ego self with these people. But after this awakening, you may find that they are suddenly repelled out of your life, either by circumstance or maybe even through them telling you to your face very directly that they just no longer connect with you because you're different, because you've changed. So this can be one of the more painful sides of a spiritual awakening, but one that is also very necessary for our growth, because only in releasing these inauthentic connections based on an ego self can we then attract to us our soul tribe, those who will be fully aligned with that core soul frequency. So the third sign of a spiritual awakening is you will suddenly become much more sensitive to lower vibrations. In fact, to all vibrations, but the lower vibrations will negatively affect you and impact you in a way that they might not have before. So this again can manifest in many different ways. One common sign of this sensitivity to vibration is that you may suddenly change your eating habits. You may suddenly begin to eat intuitively meaning you are drawn to certain foods. And the reason you are drawn to these foods is based on vibration. As you raise the vibration of your being, you will find that you are disgusted by or repulsed by anything that doesn't align with that new frequency. So oftentimes, for many people, they will begin to eat vegetarian or vegan because they feel an alignment with high vibrational foods like fresh fruits and vegetables and live living foods, so to speak. For other people, this could manifest differently. Like I said, intuitive eating, just eating in some kind of different habit or pattern. All of a sudden, I usually find that this happens very suddenly. For me, in my spiritual awakening, I ate a certain way my entire life. Up until I was about 21, 22, when I started to go through this awakening process. Or I should say actually the end of my 20th year, it was right before my 21st birthday that I started going through this awakening. And during this time, I went from eating all kinds of literally anything, lots of junk food, lots of animal products. I was extremely opposed to veganism and vegetarianism. And all of a sudden, I, out of nowhere, was drawn to a vegan diet, to a plant-based diet. And I didn't know why. And the reason was because my energetic sensitivity was changing. So another way this can manifest is you suddenly become repulsed by certain social situations. So you may have been someone who used to really like going to parties, partying, going out, going to bars. And after your spiritual awakening, you may find yourself so overwhelmed by these really high frequency, meaning lots of energy there, not necessarily high energy, but sometimes very low energy, but just a lot of energy. You may find yourself experiencing what we call energetic overwhelm by these places, people, and situations that you used to find very stimulating. This is because oftentimes when we're in the matrix, when we're in the 3D predominantly, when we're kind of living in lower vibrations, we seek out high amounts of energy without discrimination. We don't feel as much sensitivity to whether these vibrations are high or low. We simply seek out high energy environments because we are seeking external stimulation, because by being in these environments, we kind of get a little bit of an energetic high. But once we go through a spiritual awakening, we're experiencing all of this heightened energy within, and that is the difference. It flips. Before we are in lower vibrations, so we're seeking energetic stimulation. Now we're experiencing so much internal energetic stimulation, growth, expansion, high rates of energy moving through us, that we find ourselves seeking alignment with that high frequency. We've become much more discriminating in what kinds of energy we want to be around. And oftentimes, in addition to that, we will actually seek environments of calm because we are experiencing so much energy within that we seek calmness externally to kind of find balance with that heightened energy within us. So in tandem to this, you may also find yourself really seeking out meditative sorts of places, whether this is the ocean, the forest, nature, whether this is going to a yoga class, going somewhere that is very tranquil and calm and peaceful, because what you're really seeking is some kind of counterbalance to all of the chaotic shifts in energy going on within you. Also, I would like to pause and say here that if you are someone going through this spiritual awakening and these signs are resonating with you, know that energetic hygiene is so important for you at this time. And what I mean by energetic hygiene is finding some way to clear out, to uproot negative vibrations within you, because throughout a spiritual awakening, everything becomes amplified. The good, the bad, the high energy feels even better, but the low energy affects us even more negatively. So because I've been through this awakening myself and I've sought out some kind of tool to allow myself to ground in these moments of internal energetic change and chaos, I've created a sound therapy tool. Now, this is a powerful meditation tool designed to clear out energetic blockages from all 7 chakras, to ground your energy field, to raise your vibration, and to allow you to process these energies throughout a spiritual awakening process or a time of immense spiritual growth, transformation, and change. I have named this my 7 chakra clearing subliminal, and it's available on my website and soul passion project, Sound and Soulful. On this website, I've actually created a library of over 100 subliminals for all areas of life. So as you can see on the screen, I have subliminals for physical body changes, for mood shifts like confidence and happiness, for love and relationships, even manifesting a specific person. But specifically, like I said, if you're going through this spiritual awakening, I highly recommend starting with my 7 chakra clearing subliminal. You can try out this subliminal as well as any of the more than 100 I've created completely free for 7 days when you create a trial account on my website. The link to that will be in the description box and the pinned comment below this video. Now, the next sign of a spiritual awakening is a sudden change in interest or personality. This may feel so sudden and drastic to you that it leaves you in some kind of an identity crisis. This really is just the ego going through what we call an ego death. And what I mean by this is when you raise your vibration through this spiritual awakening, like I said, this energy moving through us very fast comes up against these walls. Now, these walls could be conceptualized as blocks, as negative patterns of thinking, as the ways in which we're programmed by society. But as these walls break down, our ego crumbles in connection to that, because the ego is entirely built on a false self. It is built on how we perceive that others perceive us. It is built on generations of societal programming deep in our DNA, in our cells, in our biology that cause us to think and act in ways that are not natural to our highest self, to our authentic self, to our soul self, that are not in alignment, but are based upon lower vibrations, based upon fears, anxieties, the perceptions of other people. And as we start to break down these walls, you may find that some of your interests and even key parts of your personality, or what you believe to be key parts of you, begin to break down or suddenly change. Because all along, these pieces of yourself were actually built in ego. They weren't built on your authentic core soul self. They were built on a false self. Just as one example of this, perhaps you were someone who picked up a certain hobby or interest in your youth or in your life, and you thought that this was something you were very passionate about. But as you go through a spiritual awakening, you suddenly lose interest entirely in this passion or hobby. You may come to realize through self-analysis that you really only express this hobby or interest because it's what others wanted from you. Maybe from a young age, you got a lot of praise from doing this particular sport or hobby or activity, so you just continued to do it on autopilot and absorbed it into your so-called personality, but it was never really you. It was always based on how you perceived that others perceived you, and specifically how others praise you for doing that specific thing. Now, the 5th and final sign that you're going through a spiritual awakening is any kind of strange, new, uncomfortable physical symptom. And I always say, always go to a doctor first, check out these symptoms, make sure there's no medical cause. But I'm talking about you've been to a doctor, there's no seeming medical cause, and it's just some random unexplainable symptom. One of the most common physical symptoms associated with spiritual awakening is muscular tension. This muscular tension is a direct bodily manifestation of what is going on in our energy. Specifically, what is happening as this energy moves very quickly through us, comes up against these blocks, and then these blocks directly connect to the physical body because the energy is connected to the body. We don't just exist physically, we exist at several layers of existence. There are many layers to our being, and one of these is the energy body. So for example, let's say that you are working through a solar plexus block, which is really the upper abdomen area. So as you work through this block energetically, you may feel this as stomach pains, stomach cramps, for some people even stomach ulcers that manifest as a result of this working through of this energy block. Now, another way that this these kinds of physical symptoms can manifest is simply through physical fatigue. I find that this may be the #1 physical sign of a spiritual awakening, which seems paradoxical because I just spoke so much on how spiritual awakening happens or is triggered by this new influx of energy, right? But what happens is, because this energy must be integrated, it must be assimilated, this requires a lot of energetic work within your body. Your body, your physical body, your energy body must process these higher vibrations, must clear out any lower vibration blockages within you in order to slowly raise the energy of your being, slowly integrate all of this new energy within you. So at first, as you're going through this awakening, you will feel unusually tired. For me, when I was in the early stages of awakening, I could easily sleep 14 hours, I'm not even kidding, and still be tired, still feel so low energy, low motivation. You may also find that despite being so tired, you may wake up at random times during the middle of the night. This is because technically your energy body is working to assimilate these new energies as a result of your spiritual awakening, not just during the day, but overnight while you sleep. And in fact, sleep time is one of those segments of time where you will do some of the heaviest energy work, which is also why many people during a spiritual awakening will also experience very intense and vivid dreams, because you are actually doing a lot of unconscious dream work during this time. Which is also why, personally, I always recommend using your sleep time consciously, because sleep time is a great tool. Doing dream work, doing sleep work is a great tool for shifting your energy, for clearing out negative energies and infusing yourself with positive energy that begin to program you in certain directions towards certain goals that you may have. So personally, I always listen to a playlist of different subliminals overnight while I sleep, which if you are a member on my subliminal site, you can create as many of your own custom subliminal playlists as you choose. And I know that many of you who use this site use this as an overnight sleep reprogramming tool. So again, the information on signing up for a free trial to my subliminal site is in the pinned comment and the description box. So thank you so much for listening to this video. I hope that it was useful for you or helpful in figuring out why you may be experiencing some strange energetic signs or symptoms along your spiritual awakening journey. If I did resonate with you, please subscribe to this channel, join our community of like-minded, conscious, creative beings here on YouTube. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your